is where it all kicks off. They'll do a Super Bowl ceremony for the world champion Eagles, but very quickly the attention turns to the Cowboys. An NFC East clash takes center stage in just a few hours, and we can't wait. Now, to get things started here on NFL Live, exactly as you would expect, Sal Paolantonio is covering the Eagles out in Philly. Sal, what's the atmosphere like at the stadium with kickoff now just a few hours away?
Hey there, Laura. Look at this spectacular day for football in South Philadelphia. But I want you to check this out to get the mindset of this town. This was at 5:45 this morning, over 14 hours before kickoff. I was here in South Philadelphia to help the local ABC affiliate kick off the coverage. And I got to tell you, I was shocked to see tailgaters out here in South Philadelphia 14 hours before kickoff. And it has just built over time. The energy here is amazing. Now, that's the mindset of the town. The mindset of the team is a little bit more subdued, set by Jalen Hurts. He said in his final message to the team, it's about togetherness. It's about the evolution of what we learned from one another and what we've gone through together. And this iteration of Philadelphia Eagles, if we have that togetherness, we can carry forward and get another championship here in Philadelphia. Laura?
Well, Sal, as you know, defending Super Bowl champions have won 20 of their last 25 season openers. So maybe those Eagles will fare well. We'll pick this game later on in the show. Thanks so much to Sal Paolantonio. Let's carry on here. And Micah Parsons, by the way, 4 seasons in Dallas. He won't be out there tonight. The defense struggled when he was off the field. The Cowboys were much better when it came to pressuring the quarterback. And get this, their defense allowed 4 times as many passing touchdowns per interception when Parsons was off the field. Look who's here. Hey, guys. I got to scoot my chair in. I'm really far away.
There you go.
Hey. Dan Orlovsky, Peter Schrager, Jason McCourty. By the way, this is our regular Thursday crew, so you're going to be seeing us all together throughout the season. This is it. I really wanted you to leave him hanging, but you didn't. Okay, let's get it going. Peter.
You did it. Oh.
Dang it. He forced me into it. No Micah on that front for Dallas. What exactly do you expect that unit to look like tonight?
You know, they're not exactly shaking in their boots about losing Micah Parsons on defense. I've spoken to some sources in Dallas, and maybe they're just trying to sell it, and maybe they're just trying to cover up an ugly wound by making it seem better than it is. They like their signing of Dante Fowler. They like Sam Williams. They like that they drafted an edge rusher in the 2nd round out of Boston College who they think can make an immediate impact. They don't think that they suddenly fell off a cliff because they lost one player on the defense. As disrespectful as that might sound to Micah Parsons, they wouldn't have made the trade if they didn't think they can hang in there on defense without him. I am fascinated to see how that goes. We'll check the stats at the end of the season, but I do know at least one of us at this table picked Micah Parsons to be the Defensive Player of the Year this year. And if that's the case, that's a major, major loss that maybe they underestimated.
It is a major loss, and Matt Eberflus, the new defensive coordinator, he's a guy that doesn't bring a ton of pressure. He relies on that front 4 to be able to create pressure and also to stop the run. You mentioned a few of those names. That's who I'm looking at tonight. I want to see the front 4 of this Dallas Cowboys team and what they're able to do to stop Philly. For a lot of people at home, you look at just these pictures and you're like, well, who are these guys? These are the guys that are supposed to represent the Cowboys. And yes, you said Sam Williams on the edge. You said Dante Fowler Jr. It's the interior of this Cowboys defensive line. Kenny Clark, who they brought over in that trade for Micah Parsons. Odigizua. These are the guys that are going to have to stop Saquon Barkley in this running game and also be able to have to get after Jalen Hurts when he drops back to pass the ball.
How equipped is this secondary to make the transition that they're making? Because most of them cut their teeth playing a more man coverage or match coverage. And now Matt Eberflus, to your point, is way more zone-centric. Trayvon Diggs, how equipped is that group to make that transition?
See, I like this group in that type of system because you think about it, Trayvon Diggs, the one thing that we said about him before is he may end up getting 2 picks in a game, but he may give up a double move because his eyes and his instincts. Deron Bland, when he led the league in pick sixes and picks, that was what eyes on the quarterback, being able to make plays. So I like them in this system. Diggs hasn't played and practiced a lot in the preseason, so how fast can he catch up will be a big question mark.
Interesting. Dan, with Kellen Moore now gone, the Eagles offense has a new OC in place, Kevin Patullo. What kind of questions do you have about his impact tonight?
Well, I think, first of all, it starts on the interior of their offensive line. You know, Landon Dickerson just had knee surgery, and then Mekhi Becton, who was a human mover, is not there. So there's a little bit of maybe newness, and then also how healthy is Landon Dickerson. And then when it's specific to Kevin Patullo, I would say this. Kellen Moore last year was great at just committing to the run and almost being hard-headed of it. And that takes discipline. That takes being in the fire of it and just, nope, this is who we are. Does Kevin Patullo have that same discipline? How does he force the ball to A.J. Brown or feed the ball to A.J. Brown? How does he make sure that there's a simplistic element to his route concepts? What's new? I think another thing is the Eagles were great at last year. Like, they would start a drive and they would hit a big play. They would just kill the line of scrimmage and almost run the same exact play. And so does Patullo have that as well? What's the wrinkle? There's a little bit of unknown.
It's so inside baseball, but you look at it, you've got this unknown at pass rusher for the Dallas Cowboys and this unknown on the offensive line on one side of it. So tonight we'll know. We'll know. If they're coming in there and you're seeing Sam Williams and Dante Fowler in the backfield all afternoon, you're going to say, okay, this might be an issue for the Eagles. If they're not getting in there, this could be a long season for Dallas.
Yeah. Landon Dickerson, by the way, a couple days ago, full participant in practice. All signs point to him being good to go. I know. We thought when we saw the injury, we're like, there's no way, but here he goes. All right, let's get to our top stories with Adam Schefter joining us here now. Adam, Micah Parsons not playing in tonight's game for Dallas after being traded to Green Bay last week. But your reporting today says the Packers weren't the only team with serious interest. What do we need to know?
Well, Laura, you heard Peter say the Cowboys aren't exactly sweating losing Micah Parsons, but I could tell you there was a team that really wanted to add Micah Parsons, and that team was in their division, and that team is their opponent tonight, the Philadelphia Eagles. They made overtures to see if the Cowboys would be willing to trade Micah Parsons, and the answer to that was no. In fact, when you look at it, my understanding is that the Eagles were prepared to offer significantly more than the Green Bay Packers to try to sway the Dallas Cowboys' minds, but it couldn't change them enough, and Micah Parsons ultimately dealt to Green Bay. Meanwhile, speaking of pass rushers, Nick Bonito becomes the latest one to get paid today on a 4-year deal that includes $70 million in guaranteed money. The deal could be worth up to $120 million, and the Broncos have had a successful offseason keeping their own. They've re-signed Cortland Sutton, they've re-signed Zach Allen, and now they've re-signed Nick Bonito before this season kicks off. Amari Cooper, who returned to football in late August, now has left football again. He walked away from the Raiders, retired from the game today. There was questions as to how he would fit in, and right now, obviously, he thought it would be easier to just move on, go a separate way, and so a receiver that the Raiders didn't have during the summer, they will not have for the regular season. And there will be a big game in Buffalo on Sunday night. Everybody remembers what happened in the playoffs last year with Mark Andrews when he had that devastating drop of a key pass that was pivotal in the Ravens' divisional round playoff loss to the Buffalo Bills. Andrews gets a chance to go back there on Sunday night, make amends, and he'll have the opportunity to do it in a game where it looks like the Baltimore Ravens also will not have their other tight end, Isaiah Likely, who suffered a foot injury earlier this summer. Likely not practicing again today, which would be a sign that he's not going to be active on Sunday night. So it looks like Mark Andrews may very well get the chance for a little redemption on Sunday night.
All right, more from Adam throughout the show. All the latest news, everything you need to know, he returns. Let's continue on Bills and Ravens.
Could you imagine,
now.
sorry, if Micah Parsons was an Eagle?
You know what? I was stuck on that, too. I'm thinking about Cowboys fans. Like, are you kidding me? All right, Bills and Ravens. The one thing we'll be watching on Sunday is how effective the Ravens are at getting to Josh Allen, the 2024 MVP, sacked 14 times last year, tied for the fewest in the NFL. Now, as for the Ravens defense, 54 sacks in total, second most in the NFL. Their third most in franchise history. So, J-Mac, that Ravens secondary, very strong in the back half of last season. What are your expectations for them this week against Josh Allen? Because that's a tough test for any secondary.
The question for me this week is how fast can they come together? Kyle Hamilton is the piece there that was there. Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins should take a step in year 2. You're now adding Malachi Starks, the safety that you drafted to come in. He has to play a lot more with Darius Washington going down with a season-ending injury. Then the other cornerback spot, they brought over Jair Alexander, and then Chidobe Awuzie has played really well for them in the preseason. I think the way the secondary is able to play early on, it allows Zach Orr, the defensive coordinator, to dial up different pressures, different games up front to let those guys loose. A rookie by the name of Mike Green. I've talked to Kyle Van Noy about this kid. He said he has elite skills. I want to see what he looks like coming off the edge and what he can do early on for his defense.
I know. Some thought the Mike Green pick was kind of a steal too.
Yes.
It's good for them. All right, Peter. I watched your predictions. Okay, you got the Bills winning the Super Bowl.
A lot of negativity from the Chiefs.
Hey, we'll all have that burner account ready or something.
Yeah, watch out. You need a burner account. It helps everything.
Trigger's smart. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Bills' offense. People were kind of surprised they didn't add a big piece on the outside. What do you make of their pass catchers?
They last year didn't have that big piece on the outside. When they brought in Amari Cooper, it wasn't exactly like they're bringing in Jerry Rice, and they still managed to have as many passing touchdowns as any team, and Josh Allen played as well as he could. They love Khalil Shakir. They think he is a number one. They are fine with Khalil Shakir being that guy. Keon Coleman now in his second year, and then they brought in Josh Palmer. That is a good trio. You think Dalton Kincaid was a little, banged up last year? He's healthy now. Josh Allen has enough weapons, and that backfield of Ray Davis and James Cook is legit. One of the best offensive lines in football. I have picked the Buffalo Bills to not only win the Super Bowl, but to run away with the AFC. I think they're going to be a powerhouse, and the whole entire conference goes through them. Shakir is going to be one of the reasons why.
Dalton Kincaid was a first-round pick?
Yep, out of Utah.
He's got 4 touchdowns.
He was hurt last year.
I understand
injuries.
He was supposed to change the whole offense.
Yeah, 90 catches 2 years ago.
44 catches last year. I mean, like, we're talking about the receivers, 100% agree. We talked about him yesterday. But could you imagine what this offense could get to if he steps forward? If he plays, I mean, I remember coming out of Utah, J-Mac, to your credit, and to your point, he was the bigger Cooper Cup. He was it was rookie year, Peter, to your point, like he was really impressive.
And they used him a lot.
So can they, because, Joe Brady, the question is, for me, what's the new wrinkle? What's the new thing you're going to get to? If they can get Kincaid to play to the way that his talent is, I know Palmer's going to be a good player.
Is that a scheme thing? Like, could they do some things that highlight him in that way?
I don't think it's a scheme thing. I think he's just got to go produce things. He's got to stay healthy. I think he's good enough to do it. It's stay healthy and go produce. And the offensive line, the scheme, the quarterback, he should.
I was in one of those fantasy drafts, and I was looking at the list of players. Like, Kincaid was ranked like 18th, and I'm like, four touchdowns. Like, this guy was like the guy 2 years ago. So
and by the way, you brought this up yesterday. No Mac Hollins. I think they'll really miss him.
I agree.
Might not have gotten all the credit that he deserved, but
led the team in touchdowns.
The dirty work.
Not only on the field, in the locker room,
the dirty work.
Oh, goodness, the CeeDee Lamb show for Cowboys fans. When looking at wide receivers only, Lamb has 300 more yards after the catch than all other combined Cowboys wideouts. Dan, J-Mac, Schrager at the touchscreen. Well, actually, Peter's not there, but Dan and J-Mac are there explaining just how different those numbers could look tonight.
I think George Pickens is an elite talent physically at the wide receiver position. CeeDee Lamb is a guy that's had to carry the burden of the weight when it comes to the production at receiver and some of the demands that defenses do. 2 clips I want everyone to really hone in on that are incompletions, and you sit there and go, man, they're so close. It's so close to being an opportunity for that offense to have a big play. And this is going to be the example of number one why. Okay, so first of all, top of the screen is going to be CeeDee Lamb. This is a basic set. CeeDee's outside, and the bottom of the screen is going to be somebody opposite him. Now imagine that being George Pickens. If it's not George Pickens, and you as the defense are going to play in that single high safety where you have a defender, you have a third of the field, you have a third of the field, and then this guy's a third of the field. That's CeeDee Lamb up top. There's not George Pickens at the bottom. Talk me through your mindset, okay?
Well, you always talk about, I used to talk to my brother about this. You're trying to midpoint the formation. As a middle field player, not just trying to stand in the middle of the field, but you're looking at the number one up there and the number one down here, and you're trying to get in the middle of both of those guys to be able to go either way. You're going to see the safety right here. He's on the left hash because in his mind, where are my threats? CeeDee Lamb to the top is my threat. I'm not worried about the guy down the bottom because I know I'm banking on my corner to win that matchup. When that's George Pickens, that's a different story.
So you're telling me naturally you would shade to CeeDee if not George Pickens?
And I'm telling the corners that, hey, wherever CeeDee Lamb is, know that you got me over the top. If you're away from him, get inside leverage and know you have to win the one-on-one matchup.
And I look at it and go, that's close. It's the right place to go with the football. It's a pretty darn good throw. But now if you're the Cowboys and if you're watching tonight, you're going, well, now we've got George Pickens. If that safety does shade that way, take advantage of it, or maybe he can't, and then CeeDee becomes a little bit more of a viable option on those throws as well. Now the second clip, I want everyone to understand at home, okay, CeeDee Lamb's on the right side of our screen. He's by himself. And then there's this bunch concept again. This is not a George Pickens. This is last year. Now, I want everyone to see that safety. When that ball gets snapped, you tell me what he does. Immediately, he turns his eyes and his full body, and he's there. Why? Because you're now getting that double team to CeeDee Lamb. They're going, as a defense, 1-2, we're going to double team CeeDee Lamb. And I think about it like this. Okay, if that happens, all you have to do is lift this safety, and you just run vertical. If you lift that safety, you have now created a one-on-one backside for your corner, your wide receiver, and you have so much space where you could, as the quarterback, take advantage of the football. This defender should be completely out of there. There's so much space if they're going to double team CeeDee Lamb.
And take it back to the beginning, because what I love about this, because this was the Bill Belichick special. Take away your best weapon, double team him over there, and make one of these other guys beat me. See, to me, I'm putting George Pickens in the slot. What this creates for this safety at the top right here, Dan, is he now has a triangle. He's on this side of the field, and he's trying to split the difference between these two threats. I'm taking this receiver, I'm going vertical. If I have George Pickens on this side, look at all of this space over here that I can operate. As long as CeeDee Lamb runs a short route, he occupies
You
two of
grab
those
this,
guys.
you're telling me you grab that
both of those
safety.
guys and now get over the top. George Pickens has a one-on-one opportunity with all of that grass.
You know, it's
in front
funny.
of him.
We used to do this in Houston with Andre Johnson. We would have Andre Johnson by himself, and they would double team Andre Johnson. And then we had a really good player like a Kevin Walter. And he's not George Pickens, but Kevin would run these field posts. It's exactly what you're pointing to, all that space. I love the fact that you said put Pickens inside. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'd be looking forward to that tonight. CeeDee Lamb on one side. Do they put Pickens in the slot and allow him to work? Maybe it versus a Cooper DeJean, but at least there's that almost three-way go, vertical, in and out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely outstanding. I love it. We bet.
Guys, yeah, you guys are bet. By the way, George Pickens on tight window throws, he has the third most catches on those since his NFL debut. Woo! All right, Steelers-Jets, they're playing each other. Truly fascinating since they traded quarterbacks this offseason. The Jets, of course, grabbed Justin Fields. The Steelers finally signed Aaron Rodgers, and here we are, because of course they're now facing off in week one. Like, the scriptwriters are like, oh my God, this was all planned. All right, now we find Peter. I was like selling you before you were here, but now you're here. Let's start.
I wasn't here for the Kevin Walter talk. Shout out to Kevin Walter. Love that guy, Eastern Michigan. That's it.
There we go. Boom. Let's start on the Rodgers side of this, Peter. What do you expect to see from him in his return to the Meadowlands on Sunday?
I'm curious to see him in this Arthur Smith offense, Laura. I really think that they have an opportunity to establish themselves week one. The issue is they're going up against some foes that know him very well. I'm curious to see how his body looks and if he's able to escape that Aaron Glenn pass rush. Truth of the matter is, it's going to be a hostile environment. There might be a lot of Steelers fans there. That's the early word. They're buying tickets. That's fine. The Jets fans are not going to be welcoming him back with a giant bouquet of flowers. And I know that defensive line is going to be coming off the edge. So I am very interested to see if it's a run-heavy offense or if they roll the ball out and say, you know what? We've got Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. We're paying good money for the wide receiver. Let's utilize him as much as possible. But I would expect this game to be a lower scoring game and that Rodgers might have some troubles against that Jets front seven.
Ooh, something to look out for. All right, Sheffy, if you know anything about NFL Live, which you do, you know I love the big fellas, okay? So we got some news from both teams on that front. Let's start with Pittsburgh and Cam Hayward.
Cam Hayward was not at practice today. Now, this was supposed to be a rest day, and this is what he's done the last couple of years. Mike Tomlin works out his schedule. But the Steelers still have not reached any type of agreement on a contract for Hayward. And again, he's been looking for an adjusted deal. The two sides struggling to get there. And this bears watching ahead of Sunday's game against the New York Jets, in a game in which the Jets will be without their starting guard Elijah Vera-Tucker. Turned out a second opinion confirmed that Vera-Tucker does have torn triceps. He's out for the year. He's going to have to undergo surgery. Not a good situation for the Jets, who lose a starting offensive lineman and a really good lineman on the eve of the season before they have to go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And moments ago, just said that the Houston Texans are expected to be without their wide receiver Christian Kirk on Sunday against the Rams due to a hamstring injury that my understanding is could sideline him a couple of weeks. The Texans are going to be cautious in his return. We'll see when he's able to make it back, but he's not going to be able to make it back for Sunday's game against the Rams. I'm sure he'll be ruled out tomorrow, and he will not play on Sunday in LA.
I think that's a far bigger loss than many of us might expect, considering that their wide receiver room isn't as deep as other teams, and they were expecting Kirk to be one of those guys. Adam with breaking news, obviously, but that's even more pressure on fellow Michigan man Nico Collins, who's going to have to step up and truly be one of those number one guys, as he's been held in that conversation all offseason.
Yeah, we've certainly talked about his capability to do that when he's healthy. I like the Michigan tie there. Adam loves it. And he joins us now. Troy, we're going to get to Bears-Vikings. There's a lot to get to with that one in a couple, but we are quickly approaching the matchup tonight as the season kicks off with Cowboys-Eagles. With all the drama that's happened in the offseason, what should Dak Prescott do to lead this team, not only in the locker room, but on the field?
Well, I think the Cowboys have the right guy in Dak Prescott. There's no question that he's as good a leader as there is in the entire league. And so to weather some of the difficult times that he's been through, what the Cowboys have been through, I think in light of what's happened this last week with the trade of Micah Parsons, he's poised and ready to go. And he's going to have to be, because with that trade, I think there's more on Dak's shoulders going into this season. They supplied him with another weapon, of course, in George Pickens. And I do feel that with Brian Schottenheimer, there's an expectation that they'll run the ball more. We may not see that tonight, but for Dak's sake, I hope that they are able to run the ball better than what they have shown in recent years. And if they're able to do that, then they've got a chance, because I think the offense is going to have to be what carries this group this season.
It makes sense. Let's go to the Eagles sideline. Kellen Moore, of course, he's now a head coach in New Orleans. How much different do you expect this Eagles offense to look with their new OC, Kevin Patullo?
Well, I'd be surprised if it looks any different, quite honestly. But with that said, when you change play callers, it has an impact. It did a couple of years ago with Brian Johnson when he stepped in and took over for Shane Steichen. Of course, Kellen Moore last year did a terrific job. And I think in building that offense, one around Jalen Hurts, of course, but also Saquon Barkley in the year that he was able to have. I think with Patullo's background with Nick Sirianni, going all the way back to Indianapolis, there's certainly continuity, but this will be the first time that he's called plays. And just knowing the offense, or knowing what was successful last year and in prior years when Jalen has played his best football, that's one thing. But then to actually be able to call a game and know when to call some of these plays and set defenses up, there's an art to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he does, because this will be a big test on a big stage against obviously a big rivaled opponent.
Yeah, it's a great point. We'll see that in action in just a few hours. Let's get to our game on Monday night between the Vikings and Bears. All eyes on Ben Johnson. He's making his head coaching debut. How do you expect him to use Caleb Williams, knowing that Brian Flores is calling the plays on the defense on the other side?
Yeah, I think it's a tough opener for Chicago, and certainly for Caleb Williams. There's a lot of expectations on him. There was last year when he came into the league as number one overall pick, but I think now you combine him with Ben Johnson and what's expected of that marriage between those two, and all the different looks that he's going to see from the Minnesota Vikings. I think the good news for Chicago is the fact that Caleb has faced Brian Flores. He has seen a lot of these various looks. And how can Ben Johnson then kind of calm the waters, if you will? Remember, now Caleb's played, but a lot of these guys around the league have not played much in the preseason, if at all. So there's a bit of a feeling out process. My guess is we're going to see him try to lean on the run game. How successful can they be? Not many teams were against this Vikings defense last year, but I would expect them to try to come out, allow Caleb to gain some confidence, some easy completions, and kind of go from there. The fact that he gets to open up at home, I know there's been a lot of conversation about snap count. He can use some of those things to his advantage that otherwise he wouldn't be able to, but there's a lot going on right now, I'd have to believe, inside of Caleb Williams' mind, and what this might look like on Monday night is anyone's guess. And I would imagine that even Ben Johnson would say the same thing.
Yeah, it's true. There's probably also a lot going on in J.J. McCarthy's mind right now as he gets ready to make his official debut in that Kevin O'Connell offense. What are you expecting from him?
Well, he sure has a good group around him, and he's another one. There's a lot of pressure on all these quarterbacks, no matter how many years you've been in the league. But for a team that was 14-3 and to pretty much have everybody back and really feel like they're improved in some other areas, the expectations are high. Now, I will say this, even though he's making his first NFL start, there is a big difference, a monumental difference between making your first start as a second-year player versus making your first start as a rookie. So the fact that he's been able to go through the entire year, see the speed of the game, at least from the sidelines, learn the offense, be around the play caller and Kevin O'Connell, a full offseason, and then, of course, training camp. I think he's positioned to really have a nice season for all the reasons that I said, in addition to the fact that he's got good players around him. But I'm excited for him and looking forward to seeing what he might be able to do. I am surprised, I will say, Laura, that he didn't play more than he did.
Right.
He played just 12 snaps in preseason for a young player, and I mean that is the norm these days. I get it, but it's still somewhat of a foreign concept for me when you have a young guy with high expectations and you have an opportunity to get them a little bit more playing time. It will have been over a month since he played, and yeah, it's a long time in the NFL.
That's a good point. They don't make them like they used to, Troy. That's not what they used to do, you know?
You said it. I'll leave it at that. You said it. I'll go along with it, though.
All right. Troy is going to join us on some Thursdays here on NFL Live. We appreciate you. We'll see you on Monday night.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say Dak gets the 2 tonight, and I think one of them is going to cover some decent amount of space. I really believe that they're going to throw the ball a good amount tonight. You don't want to get caught just trying to run against this Eagles defense, and you have to test the corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell to see if they can hold up versus 2 premier receivers. I think he gets 2.
All right, going to go to J-Mac now. Saquon Barkley put up 109 yards in the team's opener last season. Over under 94.5 yards on the ground for him tonight.
I am going under. And this has less to say about Saquon Barkley, more to say about the situation for the Dallas Cowboys. If I am Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, if I'm a defensive player on that team, when your owner makes a trade, the biggest trade, and all he talks about was this trade was about stopping the run, the one thing you want to do when you go into that game tonight is stop the daggone run. If Jalen Hurts kills you and throws the ball, that's one thing. Do not let Saquon Barkley have a dance party in the end zone all night long.
I love it, J-Mac. All right, Peter.
Way to be a dog.
Let's talk point totals. Over under 47.5 points scored in tonight's game.
First off, shout out to this music. I'm ready to go to the
It's a
club.
vibe.
I love this.
Trey's in the club.
This is
Like
John
I've seen
Summit.
it.
This is a let's-o. Give me the under. The under tonight. I think that the Dallas defense has been hearing it all week, that they just completely are barren without Micah Parsons. They're going to have something to say. Matt Eberflus has been the punchline of a bunch of jokes the last 2 weeks since his trade was made. Like, Eberflus can coach defense, folks. I think they hang in this game, and I think both defenses come to play. It might not be the electric offensive lightning show you saw last year in the NFC Conference game and, of course, in the Super Bowl from the Eagles.
All right, if you're wondering what the payout here is, I'm going to tell you, $10 bet on these wins, just over $85. All right, good luck. How about this? Football's back, and right now, new ESPN Bet customers can get $100 in bonus bets when you make your first $10 bet. Score more from the game with the Sportsbook for sports fans. Sign up with promo code LIVE to get started today. Don't miss it. All right, time to see what's on trend around the league. We're going to start with a huge Week 1 matchup between the Lions and the Packers. Play action, the topic of conversation here. Last year, Jared Goff and the Lions offense were one of the best when using it. The Packers defense had problems stopping it. Dan, does that trend continue this week?
It does. This is the core of this Detroit Lions offense. It's the foundation of Jared Goff as a player. He's become one of the masters at it. No matter if it's one of those play-action pass, kind of dump-down screens that they like to get to their two kind of playmaking backs, or the play-action run actions that spread the ball to the perimeter, a player like J-Mo Williams, or sometimes it's getting Jared Goff on the edge. He's not this most ridiculous athlete, but he can threaten the defense. Also, those in-breakers that we love so much. Green Bay's defense is very good. I still think this is a core staple of that Lions offense.
The Giants quarterback room has had its problems in recent years. Since drafting Daniel Jones 6th overall in 2019, the G-men rank worst or second worst in quarterback metrics across the board. New York has had 9 different starting quarterbacks in that span. None of them have a winning record. Peter, lots of optimism, though, about Jackson Dart coming off that preseason, but it will be Russell Wilson under center Sunday against Washington. Does the trend of bad QB play continue for the Giants this week?
Shout out to Jake Fromm and to Tommy DeVito and a lot of these guys. I think they've got Russell Wilson under center to start the season, and then Jackson Dart is the hope. in the future. I think Russell Wilson plays pretty well against Washington this week. I think the Giants can beat the Commanders in Washington because of their defensive front four getting after Jayden and that Commanders offense. That said, I don't think any of these guys are going to the Pro Bowl this year, but it is a significant upgrade from what it's been in New York.
Let's go to the Chargers now, where Jim Harbaugh is ready to start year 2 in L.A. Good thing for him, he's never lost a season opener as an NFL head coach. 5-0, his teams averaged nearly 30 points a game. And get this, in 5 season openers, his teams have 0 turnovers. Does Harbaugh's Week 1 win streak continue tomorrow in Brazil, J-Mac?
Man, Laura, that's one hell of a full screen right there. 5-0. I'm going to say, no, the trend does not continue.
Ooh.
I'm rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs. All offseason, all they've heard about how much their division has improved. The Broncos, the Chargers, the Raiders have gotten so much better. I think they're ready to go and show, coming off that Super Bowl performance, that they're still a team to beat in the AFC. And, oh, yeah, Patrick Mahomes has a new left tackle to give him more time.
Oh, let's talk about that. A new on NFL Live. Mahomes took the microphone down in Brazil, talking about, at length, his new blindside protector, Josh Simmons.
I'm super excited for these guys to have the opportunity to go out there and accept the challenge. You know, Josh has had a great camp and he's had a great offseason. He had a great college career, and now he gets the next challenge of playing in the NFL, and I think he's ready for it. And so I think throughout the whole offensive line, they've taken it personal and want to showcase who they truly are. We got a lot of great players up there, and I think they're ready for the challenge.
Dan, just how important is Simmons to the success of this offense?
You can make the case right now is it important of a player that they have in their offense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's why. Okay, so we've heard all offseason, rightfully so, want to push the ball down, get the explosive pass play back to their offense, right? I agree. That's needed. They've only so many years RPO'd teams to death.
Yeah.
There's 2 ways to do it in ball. You know this. Like, one, we just line a guy up there and we throw him the football. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of people on the planet like that. We're talking a Julio Jones type of, a Calvin Johnson type of guy. The second way really is to play action people and displace people. In 2 ways that you have to go about doing that is you have to vertically pull the defense down the field, and then you have to have time to hold on to the football. And I think that's one of the reasons why they haven't done it, is because they don't have the time. And so if he steps in and he's become a legit franchise left tackle, then that brings part of that part of their the offense back to that team. And listen, if he doesn't, I don't think they can.
Him being back allows Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, the best thing that they bring to the table is their speed and getting vertical. So now when you have Simmons there, you don't have Joe Tooney playing left tackle.
Right.
Kingsley Suamataia now can move into the guard position. So that strengthens your entire offensive line. I think the other piece of it is now you have a guy like Isaiah Pacheco who's healthy. When you show up that offensive line, you can run the ball more. So when you talk about getting vertical, when you're running the ball and you have a guy like Pacheco, now you can go play action and get that ball down the field.
Last year at the end there, Mahomes was having catch with Sky Moore and Justin Watson, and nothing against DeAndre Hopkins at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
To have a healthy Rice and a healthy Hollywood Brown and to have a healthy Pacheco is so huge. I wouldn't look at that Eagles performance in the Super Bowl where they dominated the Chiefs and say, that's the Chiefs of this year. It's a completely better offense than it was last year.
The offenses that in the pass game create those chunk throws. I'll go to Philly tonight. A.J. Brown would be one of those guys. You just put him out there, we're throwing the ball to A.J., you know? But the other teams that do create that stuff, it's the Detroit Lions, it's the Green Bay Packers, it's those teams that are play-action pass-centric, the Baltimore Ravens. And you have to have an offensive line that you truly believe can hold up for 3.5 seconds. Because it takes time to get those chunks down the field. And if you don't, and if Simmons
can't do it,
you can't do it.
It's
now,
a lot to expect from a rookie. I mean, it's
I've heard they love him.
Yeah.
Heard they love him.
And he's fully healthy. He would have been drafted a lot higher if not. By the way, we're trying to be a little more optimistic about the Chiefs, but you didn't pick the Chiefs.
I didn't. First time in forever. I picked the Bills to beat the Chiefs, and I'm hearing about it from Chiefs fans.
I hope so.
I think it's time for Buffalo to finally break through, and I think Kansas City's your 2 seed in the AFC.
Still like them.
Yeah.
Maybe they go 14-3, not 15-2.
I like them. I don't love them.
We're getting so close to kickoff. The 2025 season begins tonight. Look at Lane Johnson, the big fella arriving there. He's got the cool shades on. Remember, he's playing after that meniscus repair